Hi, welcome to lesson 4 of 10. Equipped with your new skills in auto layout and stack views, it's time to put your skills to the test. By the end of this video, you're going to have built the user interface for our war card game app. We're going to start a brand new Xcode project. Make sure you're looking under the iOS tab at Single View App. Let's click Next. For the product name, I'm going to call it the War app. And the rest of the details should be the same as your previous project, so you don't need to change any of it. The only thing I want you to make sure of is that the language says Swift. And if it doesn't, just hit this drop down and select it. Let's click Next, and then let's save it on the desktop or anywhere you'd like. The first thing we're going to do is add the graphic assets into our Xcode project. So below the video, you're going to find a link to download these assets. It's called Lesson 4 Assets. Just go ahead and click that link, download that zip file, save it on your desktop. And I've already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and double click that zip file to unzip it. After you unzip it, you're going to get a folder. If you open up that folder, you're going to see all of the graphic assets for our project. Now you might notice that each of these assets come in a set of 3. So let's open up a set of these assets. I'm going to open up back.png. This is the back of the card. Let's open up back at 2x.png and back at 3x.png. If I spread them out a little bit, you can see that back.png is the original size, back at 2x.png is 2 times that size, and the 3x version is just 3x the size of the original. And the reason why we have 3 different sizes for the same graphic asset is to accommodate the different iPhone screen resolutions. So the Retina screens use the at 2x version, and the larger screens like the iPhone 8 Plus use the at 3x version. Let's go ahead and close these now. We're going to actually just add all of these to our project. So first, go into the asset library for your Xcode project, and then go back to the folder. Hit Command A on your keyboard to select everything, and then let's drag and drop them into our asset library. And you're going to see that Xcode is smart enough to group all of the different sizes together. So if you click on, let's say back, you're going to see the 1x, 2x, and 3x grouped together like that. So you should have back, background, card 2 all the way to card 14, deal button, and logo. Now let's go back to the main.storyboard. And in the lower right hand corner in the library pane, make sure you're looking at this object library tab. In the filter box, let's type in image view, and let's drag and drop that guy right there. And make sure you've selected it in the document outline. Let's go to add new constraints. We're going to uncheck constraint margins, and I'm going to pull down these little drop downs, and I'm going to choose view instead of safe area because I want this background to be edge to edge. Let's go ahead and do that. And then let's change all of these to 0. So 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab. And hitting the tab button on your keyboard just helps you jump from box to box. And I just want to draw to your attention, if you change it to view now, or you click view again, like I'm doing now, that number changes. So just be cautious of that and make sure that those are zeros. And in any case, even if you add the wrong constraint, you know how to edit it or remove it and re-add it, because we learned that in lesson 2. So let's go ahead and add these 4 constraints. You're going to see your UI view stretched from edge to edge, even all the way to the top. And if yours doesn't look like that, just go in the document outline, delete all 4 constraints, and try that again. Okay, so now having the image view highlighted in the inspector pane on the right hand side, choose image, and let's choose background like that. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to add a stack view, a vertical one, because we're going to have the logo, we're going to have the cards, everything's kind of stacked in a vertical fashion. So let's go down here in that filter box, let's search for stack view. I'm going to add a vertical stack view just like that. And now we're going to set some constraints for it. Click add new constraints. I'm going to remove constraint margins, and I'm going to put zeros for all of them again, but this time I'm going to leave them relative to the safe area because I don't want the elements in the stack view to be blocked by anything. So let's add those 4 constraints. You'll see that they are edge to edge except for the top here where the status bar is covered. Okay, so we're good for that. And now it's time to add some elements. So let's go back to the stack view here. And again, we're going to search for image view. So go ahead and drag that into the stack view. In the document outline, you should see the stack view right here. And then you should see the image view is inside of the stack view. If you collapse the stack view, that image view should be inside of it. Okay, and the background is outside. It's behind the stack view. Okay, so we've got this image view here. We are going to add another stack view. And this time it's going to be a horizontal stack view. So rather than dragging it onto the screen here, I'm actually going to drag it into the document outline. And the way I've done it here is I've put it inside this stack view, but below the image view. So if you collapse this stack view, both the horizontal stack view and the image view should be inside of it. And in fact, I'm actually going to click this. You can hit enter. And I'm going to just rename this right now and call it the root stack view. So when I refer to the root stack view, you know I'm talking about this guy, the stack view that contains everything. Okay, so we've got this stack view, this horizontal one right here. And in the filter box, we're going to type in image view again. And we are going to drag this into the document outline. And this time I'm going to put it inside that horizontal stack view, okay? So if I collapse this, you should see that image view being tucked inside of it. I'm going to do that again because we have two cards, and again, I'm going to put it inside. Now, if you accidentally put it on the outside, let's say, you put it somewhere like that, and then you collapse that stack view and that image view is still there, just go ahead and put it inside like that. You can rearrange them, and sometimes it takes a little bit of patience to get it just right. Okay, so we've got two image views here. These two represent the two cards. So it's starting to get a little bit confusing in the UI here. So let's start setting some images and start naming some of these things. So I'm going to call this the card stack view, and you can hit enter to rename it. And this one, I'm going to change the distribution to fill equally. All right, so you can see that change down there. And for this image view, I'm going to click it, and in the inspector property, I'm going to choose back. And in this one, I'm going to choose back as well. So don't worry that it doesn't look quite right now. All right, so there's our card stack view containing the two card images. For this one above it, this one is supposed to be the logo. So I'm going to scroll down and choose the logo like that. And then right now it really doesn't look right, but we can deal with that in a second. Okay, and now we're going to go to button. And we are going to drag this button. Now, this part is going to be a little tricky because we want to put it into the root stack view, but below the card stack view. And sometimes when you drag this button here, it wants to put itself inside this card stack view. Look, I've just accidentally put it inside the card stack view, and you can see there's a card, and then there's a button beside it. That's incorrect. I actually want the button outside of it. So an easy way to position it is if you drag this guy out and then just drag it in between the logo and the button like that. It's not supposed to be there, but now you can collapse this card stack view and then just move this one above the button. And so that's an easy way to get what you want. For the root stack view, what we can do now is actually highlight it on the right hand side, change the distribution to fill equally. So that's going to give an equal amount of space to all of the elements inside of it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some labels. So let's go down here in the bottom right. Let's choose label, or type in label rather. And let's drag this label. And again, I'm going to just drag it into the document outline and put it below that button. Everything should actually be inside of this root stack view. So I just want you to do a sanity check here. So collapse that root stack view. You shouldn't see any elements outside of that stack view. If they are, just click it and drag it into the root stack view. And inside the root stack view, you should have the logo, the card stack view, which contains these two card images, and then a button, and then the label. So let's add a couple more labels. Let's click and drag that guy and put it in between the button and the label. Let's click it and do that again. We're going to add a total of 4. Let's do that again. Okay, and then I'm going to select all 4 labels. You can hold down Command and you can individually select all 4. And then let's change the color of the text to white. And then now what we're going to do is let's select it from here. We're going to select that label and hold down Command and select the second label. and we are going to click this button to put them both into a stack view. All right, so that's going to put them into a vertical stack view. We're going to do the same for these two bottom ones. Click this guy, hold down Command to select this guy simultaneously, and then we're going to click this button and embed that into a vertical stack view as well. So now in the document outline, below this button element, you should have two vertical stack views. Inside of each of them, you're going to have two labels. Okay, now let's collapse these two stack views. Hold down Command, select both of them simultaneously like that, and then let's click this embed in stack view again. So now you're going to have a vertical stack view with two vertical stack views inside, each of them containing two labels. However, for this stack view that contains all of the stuff below it, we're going to change this to a horizontal axis. So go on the right hand side in the inspector pane and let's change that to horizontal, and then you're going to get something that looks like this. It still doesn't look quite right, but we're going to fix it. So in this horizontal stack view that you just changed, let's change the distribution to fill equally. And then for this first stack view in here, let's change alignment to center, and let's change distribution to fill equally. And then for this one that contains the labels on the right hand side, we're going to do the same. Alignment is center and distribution is fill equally. So now it's starting to take shape. Okay, so for this label that is on top on the left hand side, let's change that to change the player, the text to player, and then let's change the font to a bold type of font. And then for this one right here, we're going to change that to CPU, and then we're going to change the font weight to bold. And then for this label right here, we're going to change that to 0. For this label, we're going to change that to 0. Okay, so now we have pretty much all the elements on the screen. It still doesn't look quite right, but we're not done yet. So for this button, let's go here and change the image to deal button. And let's erase that text right there. Okay, starting to take shape. For this logo up here, I want you to click that. And right now it's set to scale to fill, so it's stretching it out. And I want to change that just to center instead. And so it's not going to try and stretch it, it's just going to center that image inside of the image view. And for these guys right here, instead of scale to fill, it's really pulling it in all directions to fill up the image view. I'm going to change it to aspect fit. And same thing for this guy. I'm going to change from scale to fill to aspect fit. And then you get something like this, which looks like what you intended. So one thing we can change is for this root stack view, if you feel like it's stretching all the way down here too much, we can just bump everything up a little bit. So for this root stack view, select it. Let's go into size inspector and scroll down to all of the constraints that relate to the root stack view. And for this one that aligns the bottom of the stack view to the safe area, let's click edit and let's change that constant to something like 20. And then you're going to see it bump up just by a bit. All right, so let's take a look at this UI in a couple of different orientations and devices. So down here, it says view as iPhone 8. I'm just going to open that up and I'll leave it at portrait right now. So we'll test out the portrait ones first. Let's choose the iPhone 10 and let's minimize it a little bit so we can see everything. And if your screen turns white and you can't see anything, just change the zoom level here. If you can't see these zoom controls, just hide this document outline by clicking this button here. That's going to create more space here to allow you to see those zoom buttons. All right, let's see the iPhone 8 Plus. Like you see my screen just turned white. Let's just zoom in and zoom back out. This is the iPhone SE. This is the iPhone 4S. Okay, so now let's check out the horizontal ones or landscape orientation. So change the orientation. Looks pretty good. The cards are kind of small, which is something that we can definitely address. Clicking that. Now it looks a little messed up, but that's just kind of a refresh issue. So Let's zoom out and zoom back in, and you can see that it looks fine. Now on these bigger screens, you can see that the cards are really small. And the reason for this is because the root stack view, we told it to distribute its space equally between all of the elements. So the logo gets an equal chunk of space, the cards get an equal chunk of space, the buttons, the labels down here, they all get an equal chunk of space. If we wanted these cards to be bigger, we would actually have to tell this root stack view, instead of distribution fill equally, we might say something like fill, and then you can see it looks a lot better, right? But the problem is, if we change the distribution to fill, if we go back to the portrait orientation, you can see that the things start to look scrunched up. So this real solution here is if we have distribution to be fill equally for this vertical orientation, but for the horizontal orientation, that we can change the distribution to fill. And that is something that we can do actually. I'll show you that in a second, but first we need to talk about something called size classes. Size classes are basically categories of screen sizes because there are so many devices and 2 orientations for each device that Apple decided to separate all of these into different categories of screen sizes. So when you're adding a constraint, you are able to say something like add this constraint for all size classes, as in all categories of screen sizes, or only add this constraint for a specific size class. So this gives us some flexibility to change the layout depending on a specific size class. Let's say your app might look different on the iPad size classes versus like a smaller device like an iPhone. And each size class is defined by 2 parameters, a height and a width. Now, the height can be compact or regular, and the width can also be compact or regular. So for instance, one size class might be compact width and compact height. Another size class might be compact width but regular height. And in the case where you don't care about size classes and you want to add your constraint for all size classes, it would be any width and any height. Now let's dive back into our Xcode project and I can show you how we can add a constraint for a specific size class. Now the first thing I want you to look at is down here in the view as iPhone 10, you can see the size class here that it is compact width and compact height. Let's change it to the portrait orientation and you can see that size class changes to compact width but regular height. So just to reiterate what we want distribution to be fill equally on the compact width and regular height, or actually we want it to be fill equally for any size class. But when it comes to this size class, right, the compact width and compact height, we want distribution to be fill instead. Right, so that's just for that case, just for that size class of compact width and compact height, we want distribution to be fill. Otherwise, we want fill equally for all other size classes. So this is where you're going to, let's set it back to fill equally. And we are looking at this size class right now, right? Compact width and compact height. And we're going to click this vary for traits button. And we're going to introduce a variation based on the width and the height. So we're going to click both and then just click out of that. And this section turns blue, right? And it shows you are currently varying for all of these screens. All of these screens are in this size class or in this category of screen size. I don't know if you've noticed, but we are actually missing a screen size. There was one to the left of this iPhone 10, and that was the iPhone 8 Plus. Now let's take a look at why varying for this size class doesn't include that iPhone 8 Plus. So I'm going to click Done Varying to kind of get back to all size classes. And let's go ahead and click this iPhone 8 Plus. Well, this iPhone 8 Plus is not in the same size class as these other guys. It's in the regular width and compact height. And the reason is because this screen is just so big that it counts as regular width. It doesn't count as a compact width. Whereas these other guys, like the iPhone 10, counts as a compact width. So if we wanted to also add our constraint for this size class as well, what we're going to do is we're going to click on vary for traits, but we're going to introduce the variation simply on the height. We're going to say that for any compact height size class, we don't care about what width it is, whether it's regular width or compact width, we don't care. We only want to care about the height. So if it's compact height, right, now you can see that it includes the iPhone 8, right? Whereas before, when I varied on both of them, both the height and the width, it did not. So I'm just going to vary on the height right now, right? So we're going to have this blue section here, and it tells us we are varying for the compact height devices. And what I'm going to do is go up to distribution. It should be set to fill equally right now. Click this little plus icon beside distribution, and here I can say, again, you can kind of set the variation that you want. Leave it as width is any and the height is compact. Click add variation, and then now you can see that you can actually change this value specifically for this size class, which is compact height. So I'm going to change this to fill, and now it's basically going to use fill equally for all cases except for size classes of compact height. In that case, it's going to use fill. All right, let's click done varying down here, and then let's test this out. So if I go into portrait mode, you can see that it uses fill equally. It still looks good. But when I go into landscape mode, you can see that it uses fill, and my cards look bigger than they were before. Let's go check out the iPhone 10. See how big those cards are? When I go into a portrait, you can still see that everything is spaced out evenly. All right, so let's run this in the simulator as a last task. And I'm going to choose the iPhone 8 Plus simulator this time. All right, so here we are with the portrait orientation. I'm going to press Command and the right arrow, and here we have the landscape orientation. And then let us stop this project, and let's choose a small one like the 5S, and let's launch that. Oh, and we've actually popped up a different simulator. So here we have the portrait orientation. Let's press Command right arrow, and here we've got the landscape one, and both look pretty good. That's awesome, right? If you're having trouble putting this layout together, just leave me a comment below and I'll jump right in to help out. Also, make sure you download my Xcode project so that you can compare it with your own. You can get it by following the link in the description below. Now I want to turn it over to you. Now that we've built the war card game user interface, was it easier than you expected, or was it harder than you expected? Let me know by leaving a quick comment below. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button below. And if you don't want to miss a single video, make sure you click that bell icon as well. Remember, you can download my Xcode project that I showed you in this video by clicking on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.